Your sister's family will always come first. You are always last. My mother's declaration during my graduation dinner felt like a physical blow. But it was my father's quiet nod that shattered me completely. This wasn't just a casual comment, it was our family's unwritten rule, finally spoken aloud after 22 years of silent enforcement. In that moment, something broke inside me. But something else was forged, a steel resolve that would change everything. They thought they were confirming my place in the family hierarchy. What they were really doing was giving me permission to stop seeking their approval and start building a life where I came first, even if it meant doing it alone. The graduation dinner at our favorite Italian restaurant was meant to be a celebration of my summa cum laude achievement in business administration. The white tablecloths, the soft candlelight, the expensive wine, everything was perfect. Until it wasn't. I've accepted a position at McKinsey, I announced proudly, sliding my offer letter across the table. They're starting me at $90,000 with full benefits and relocation to Chicago. My mother barely glanced at the letter. Instead, her eyes sparkled with different news. Did Elena tell you the boys got into Crestview Academy? She gushed, her voice bubbling with excitement. It's the best private school in the state. The tuition is astronomical but worth every penny for the education they'll receive. I tried to steer the conversation back to my achievement. This job would be a fantastic opportunity for my career growth. The Chicago office, Chicago? My father interrupted, his fork pausing midair. That's so far away. Who will help your mother when she has her knee surgery next month? You know how difficult recovery can be. The pattern continued throughout the meal, my accomplishments dismissed, my plans minimized, my future treated as an inconvenience to their needs. When dessert arrived, tiramisu for everyone, my mother dropped the bombshell that would change our family forever. Your father and I have decided to take out a second mortgage on the house, she announced casually as if discussing the weather. We're buying Elena and the boys a larger home in a better school district. The real estate market is perfect right now for buying. I stared at them, my tiramisu suddenly tasting like ash. You're taking on more debt? At your age? What about your retirement savings? What happens if there's another economic downturn? My mother reached across the table and patted my hand condescendingly. Maya, dear, you just don't understand how families work. Your sister's family will always come first. You are always last. That's just how it is. I looked to my father, the man who taught me about fairness and integrity. He met my gaze briefly, his eyes filled with a mixture of guilt and resignation. Then looked down at his dessert plate. She's right, Maya, he murmured, barely audible. You're so capable and independent. You'll always land on your feet, Elena. She needs more support with the children and everything. The car ride home was utterly silent, the weight of their words pressing down on me. That night, lying in my childhood bed surrounded by academic awards and childhood memories, I didn't shed the tears they might have expected. Instead, I made 3 life-altering decisions. I would decline the McKinsey offer. I would use my entire graduation money to start my own consulting firm, and I would never again seek their validation or approval. The first 6 months of building strategic solutions consulting tested every ounce of my resolve. I worked from my 400-square-foot studio apartment, surviving on instant ramen noodles and sheer determination. My first client was a struggling local bakery that needed help creating a sustainable business plan. Then came a tech startup seeking marketing strategy. Slowly, through word-of-mouth referrals and relentless networking, my client list grew. By the end of the first year, I had a steady stream of small to medium businesses seeking my expertise, and enough profit to hire my first employee, a recent graduate as hungry and determined as I had been. Meanwhile, my family's picture-perfect world began showing cracks. Elena's marriage collapsed when her husband's construction business went bankrupt, revealing that he had taken out massive loans in my parents' names. The dream home my parents had purchased for them became a financial anchor dragging everyone down. The private school tuition became impossible to maintain, and my nephews had to transfer to public schools. The phone calls started slowly at first, tentative probes across the boundary I had erected. Maya, your sister is going through so much right now. My mother would sigh dramatically during our weekly calls. The boys are acting out in school and she's just overwhelmed. I offered measured sympathy but kept my boundaries firm. I'm sorry to hear that, Mom. I'm sure they'll adjust with time and support. As the months passed, the calls grew more frequent and increasingly desperate. Maya, we need your help with the mortgage payment this month, just until things stabilize with your sister's situation. You're doing so well with your business now. I can't do that, I said gently but firmly. My business expenses are significant: office space, employee salaries, insurance. I have payroll to meet every 2 weeks. Asterisk. The final confrontation came on a rainy Tuesday afternoon when my father showed up at my office. Unannounced. I had recently moved Strategic Solutions to a proper office space in downtown, a milestone. I had celebrated alone with a bottle of cheap champagne. Asterisk. He stood in the doorway, looking older than I remembered. His eyes taking in the modern furniture, the dedicated workstations, the professional branding on the walls. You've done well for yourself, he acknowledged grudgingly. Asterisk. Thank you, I said, gesturing for him to take a seat. What brings you here? Asterisk. He remained standing, his shoulders tense. We're losing the house, he said bluntly, no pretense of small talk. The bank has started foreclosure proceedings. We need $50,000 to stop it and restructure the debt. Asterisk. The number hung between us, surreal in its magnitude. I don't have that kind of money available, Dad. Every dollar I have is reinvested in growing this business. I have expansion plans, new hires coming on board. Asterisk. His face hardened, the familiar disappointment etching deep lines around his mouth. After everything we've done for you? We clothed you, fed you, put you through college. We're your family. Asterisk. And I'm building something that has to sustain me for the rest of my life, I said, my voice steady despite the frantic pounding of my heart. Because I learned very early that I can't count on anyone else to put me first when it matters. Asterisk. The raw hurt and disappointment in his eyes was a physical pain in my chest. But for the first time in my life, I didn't bend. The daughter they had always placed last had finally learned her worth. And the price of that knowledge was the relationship we might have had. Asterisk. The confrontation with my father ignited something within me, a fierce determination to prove, not to them but to myself, that I was worthy of the dreams I had been forced to defer. I stopped taking their calls completely, changed my phone number, and focused every waking moment on growing Strategic Solutions Consulting. Within a year, we had expanded to include 5 full-time consultants, developed a specialized niche in helping women-owned businesses, and were actually turning away clients because we had reached capacity. Asterisk. That's when the unexpected email arrived in my inbox, not from family, but from the editor of a prestigious national business magazine. They wanted to feature me in their annual 30 Under 30 Entrepreneurs issue, having heard about my work through the small business community. Asterisk. The photo shoot and interview process was surreal. The article published 2 months later with a stunning professional photo of me standing confidently in my office and a profile that didn't shy away from mentioning the family dynamics that had fueled my ambition and drive for success. Asterisk. The morning the magazine hit newsstands, my phone rang. It was my mother, her voice different, softer, stripped of its usual layers of judgment and expectation. Asterisk. We saw the article, she said quietly, then paused for a long moment. Your father. He had a heart attack last night. Asterisk. The world seemed to stop spinning. Is he? Asterisk. He's stable, she said quickly, hearing the panic in my voice. But while they were loading him into the ambulance, he told me something. He said all he could think about was how wrong we've been about you, how blind we've been. Asterisk. I arrived at the hospital within 20 minutes, my professional composure completely shattered. My father looked small and fragile in the stark white hospital bed, tethered to beeping monitors and IV lines. Asterisk. When his eyes met mine, they filled with tears. I'm so sorry, Maya, he whispered, his voice raspy and weak. Your mother and I, we failed you in the worst way possible. Asterisk. My mother stood weeping quietly on the other side of the bed, clutching his hand as if it were a lifeline. We thought we were helping Elena by always putting her first, she said, her own tears falling freely now. But we were crippling her, and we were completely blind to the amazing, capable woman you were becoming right in front of us. Asterisk. The full truth came pouring out in that sterile hospital room. The second mortgage was drowning them. Elena was struggling with severe depression. The perfect family image they had worked so hard to maintain was crumbling into dust. Asterisk. Asterisk. I read your magazine article while we were waiting for the ambulance, my father said weakly. I was so proud of you, and so ashamed of myself. Asterisk. The apology I had waited my entire life to hear didn't feel like the victory I had imagined. Instead, it felt like a heavy weight being lifted from my shoulders, like I could finally breathe properly after years of emotional suffocation. Asterisk. Asterisk. Healing came slowly but surely over the following year. My father recovered from his heart attack, emerging with a new perspective on life and family priorities. My parents ultimately lost the family home to foreclosure but downsized to a modest, manageable apartment, a practical necessity that turned out to be an emotional liberation for everyone. Asterisk. Elena began intensive therapy and started working part-time at a local preschool. where she discovered she had a natural gift for working with young children. Our relationship, finally freed from years of toxic comparison and competition, slowly transformed into something resembling genuine sisterhood, flawed but authentic. I didn't bail them out financially with the $50,000 they had requested, but I helped in more meaningful and sustainable ways. I hired both my parents as part-time consultants for strategic solutions. My father's decades of business acumen and my mother's exceptional people skills turned out to be surprisingly valuable assets to my growing company. They earned their keep through actual work, which restored their dignity while providing the financial stability they needed. Strategic solutions consulting continued to thrive and expand, but now it felt different, less like my personal rebellion and more like our family's new legacy. We had started as a family that consistently placed me last, but we were gradually becoming a team where everyone had value and contributed meaningfully. The biggest surprise came last month, when my parents asked to meet me for dinner at the same Italian restaurant where our rift had begun 3 years earlier. I arrived with trepidation, unsure what to expect. We've been working with a financial advisor. My father began, his voice stronger and more confident than I'd heard in years. We want to make a substantial investment in strategic solutions consulting, not as your parents, but as legitimate business partners who believe in your vision. My mother handed me a detailed, professionally prepared business plan they had created together. We believe in what you're building, Maya, she said, her eyes sincere. We want to be part of it, but only on your terms, as equal partners contributing to its growth. As I reviewed their surprisingly astute and well-researched proposal, I realized the journey had come full circle in the most unexpected way. The daughter they had always placed last had become the leader they now chose to follow. The entire experience taught me that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself and ultimately for your family is to refuse to accept the role they've assigned you. By choosing to put myself first, I didn't just save my own future. I gave us all a chance at healthier, more honest relationships built on mutual respect rather than obligation. And as I look around the conference table today at my parents, now my business partners and biggest supporters, I finally understand that being placed last was never my curse. It was the necessary catalyst that forced me to learn my own worth, and in doing so, finally taught my family to see it too.